Hello folks and welcome to Paddock Pass, the post-Belgian Grand Prix edition 2016. And the fans are out on the track a little bit later than we'd been anticipating, for there was a red flag mid-race, which brought a pause to the contest. It was a contest which had started with a great sea of orange throughout the grandstands and a vibe and an anticipation and just an excitement that I haven't experienced for a good decade. Not since the years of Michael Schumacher have I seen so many fans, such excitement, just such total fever. And all for young Max Verstappen, who started on the front row of the grid. Alas, it was not to be the race that his fans wished for. At the start, Rosberg got a great one. Verstappen up on the inside of Kimi Räikkönen, and then Sebastian Vettel cutting in, squeezing, contact, and it's a total melee. Basically, the Ferrari's race is ruined at that point. Verstappen picking up damage as well, having to pit at the end of lap 1. Debris creating a puncture for Carlos Sainz. Verline hit Button on lap 1, and then a couple of laps later, right up there on the exit, coming up Eau Rouge and through Radion at the top. The Renault went one way. Magnussen caught it, but caught it just too late. It went round on him and he went in at a sickening pace into the barriers. Thankfully, backwards and to the side, which took some of the momentum out of it rather than just full on its nose. But it was a huge shunt. And it brought out, ultimately, the safety car and then the red flag. Under that red flag, most of the drivers took the opportunity to change their tyres, which left us with an incredible situation in which Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, who had started this race from the last row of the grid, found themselves in the top 5. Thereafter, the pit strategy played out, leaving Rosberg the race winner, Daniel Ricciardo in second, and Lewis Hamilton from 21st on the grid, coming home third. An astonishing race, and here are your podium finishers. Nico, a phenomenal drive, a phenomenal victory. How good does it feel to get back to winning ways?
Oh, it feels great, yeah. It's been a great weekend. Everything came together well, so really pleased with that, and I felt great out there, and I really had great pace.
It was a faultless drive. Was there ever a moment when it was in doubt?
No, there was some difficult moments, like the start or after the red flag or whatever, but other than that, no, it was a perfect race in the end.
Looking at Lewis coming through the field, the car clearly has great pace. Was there more in it from you today, or was it about just looking after the engines moving forward?
Well, there was more in it, yeah, because I turned down the engine in the last stint, so for sure it could have gone stronger, because we just had great pace out there, and so yeah, it's been a spectacular weekend.
Daniel, after quali yesterday, hoping for a podium today, does this taste very sweet?
Yeah, it does. You know, I'm really pleased again to be up here. It's always a nice feeling, and I think I've been pretty fortunate. The last 3 podiums I've had, there's been a pretty awesome crowd. You know, it's been pretty cool standing up there and seeing a sea of people. This weekend it's been a sea of orange pretty much for Max, but respect to the Dutch and Belgian fans. They've been super cool, super fun, and as I said, even though they're supporting Max, they've been really generous with everyone, and there's been no, at least from what I've seen, no bad sportsmanship. So they're just fans of the sport, which is cool. And yeah, second was great. We knew we could get Lewis today with him starting at the back, so it was important to at least aim for second, and that we got.
Was it quite a lonely race for you today?
It was pretty lonely, to be honest, but I think obviously when you're up the pointy end, you know, it's less boring. You know, if it's lonely and you're in 10th, then there's not too much going on. But I think because the pace was quite good, and my engineer kept telling me the times of Lewis, you know, even though Lewis wasn't close for the most part of the race, it was still a bit of a race for him, you know, knowing what times he was doing. So, yeah, in terms of battles, not much going on, but I still had my own race in my head going.
You've extended the points gap on Ferrari. Mercedes still has clearly a pace advantage. Is it going to have to take for them to double DNF for you to get a win in the second half of the season, or do you think you can pull that gap back to them pace-wise?
I think there's, you know, I believe or hope Singapore we should genuinely be able to have some pace on, or some good pace relative to them. It normally works out similar to Monaco in terms of qualifying gaps. You know, we normally see a similar trend. So I think if we get the car hooked up around Singapore, we will hopefully have an opportunity to win. Beyond that, sure, you know, we might get lucky as well, or might get a wet race, which we know we're strong in. So I'm certainly not giving up, and you know, if we can get second around Spa, then you know, I think we should aim for a win at some point this year.
It was phenomenal drive, phenomenal performance. First time I saw you do something like that was Istanbul in GP2, which bizarrely enough was 10 years ago yesterday.
Really?
10 years ago yesterday.
GP2 was cool though.
It was. And that was a hell of a drive. And similarly, from about 21st after that first lap spin.
Yeah, but I mean, I overtook 20 cars.
With no pit stops.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone made a mistake. There was no crashes and stuff. So for me, that race was more impressive. But I'm incredibly grateful for today. You know, today was really. I didn't know what to expect, and so I just kind of tried to. And I didn't know. You know, it's been a long break, so you kind of don't. Even though we've done the practice, you don't know where your head's at. You know, you don't know. Am I on it? Am I just good? But I think today I was on it, and I was sharp, and don't feel like I, didn't fall for any of the, because I could have pushed a lot further, more at the start, try to go up the inside and get caught up in the mess, and I just tried to bring the car home firstly, and they predicted that we'd get 8th, so that's a big bonus to come out here with 3 new engines and only 10 points penalty.
And you were 15th by the end of the first lap. It was an astonishing drive. Every time in Formula 1 you've started outside the top 20, you've always come back in the points. No one likes starting at the back, but do you relish those drives where you have to fight, you've got to put everything on the line?
I wouldn't say that I relish it, but that's how I started when me and my dad turned up at a go-kart in the first time and our first year at least. We had this 5th-hand go-kart, and we started last all the time because this thing was not really good. And the cart was pretty crap, and we didn't really know what we were doing. But the one thing I did was I was able to somehow maneuver through people who had better equipment than me, and so it's kind of like when I'm put last, that's a happy day for me really, because that's what I'm used to.
The top 3 drivers, and a little bit of a history lesson there from Lewis Hamilton, a little bit of an insight into his karting GP2 history, and the fact that man loves a fight. He loves coming through the field. Another big talking point today is the fact that the man who came 4th and was battling Hamilton for the majority of the race for that final podium position is a man who has never had a Formula 1 podium, believe it or not, Nico Hülkenberg. And yet his results today, finishing 4th, aligned to those of his teammate Sergio Perez, who finished 5th, has lifted Force India up into an astonishing 4th place in the Constructors' Championship. Nico, 4th in the race, 4th in the Constructors' Championship. A good day all round. How happy are you?
Yeah, good day in the office. I'm pretty happy. I mean, overall a good race. Massive team result. Obviously 4th and 5th, beating the Ferraris, and Red Bull. Obviously a bit crazy circumstances, but that's when you have to be there and have to score the points, which is what we did today. Bit unfortunate and disappointing on my side, after the start, the red flag, because it was going really well in second there, and I think gapping the field behind me quite well, and things were looking very good there, and obviously the red flag neutralized the whole race and made it a bit harder from there onwards for me, but overall, still happy about the race.
That's it. Without that red flag, the ability for everyone to change tyres in the pits, you were looking the best of everyone out there. Frustrated that podium was so tantalisingly close today.
I don't know, it might have been, it might not have been, who knows what would have happened later in the race, a safety car or something, but it was looking good at the time for sure, and that's the one thing that you don't want to happen in that moment, but that's just racing, and we got to keep focused. You tell me that we're ahead of Williams now, which is obviously good news, but still 8 races to go, so we need to keep our heads down and keep doing what we're doing.
You and Checo were both, I'm going to say pessimistic, but not massively optimistic that you'd have good pace in the race today after qualifying yesterday. Have you surprised yourselves with how competitive you were today?
Honestly, not really. Just a bit more surprised that others were struggling as much or more than us, really, I would say. So it was not easy. It was a lot of managing going on, and looking after the tires and really picking your bones. But yeah, I think we were where we were. Others maybe just struggled a bit more than we thought.
Now, Nico Hülkenberg also had a bit of a let's say, a tete-a-tete in the race with one Fernando Alonso. They pitted on the same lap, came out side by side in the pit lane, very almost collided with each other. Completely forgot to ask either one of them about it post-race. Sorry about that. As it turned out, it didn't really matter. They didn't make contact with each other, and Fernando finished a few places behind. But a great race from Alonso, if you think he also started on the final row of the grid, fought his way through and finished very strongly in the points. So here is Fernando Alonso on what was started off looking like it was going to be a terrible day for McLaren, with a button out on the first lap and Alonso starting plumb last, but it turned out to be a very good race. Fernando, what an exciting drive. McLaren up to 6th in the Constructors' Championship. How happy are you?
Yeah, I'm happy. I think the race it was exciting to drive. Obviously, all the bad luck that I had all weekend concentrated in good luck today. The start, I gained a couple of positions, then with the safety car, another couple, and then with the red flag, we put all the fresh tires on the pit lane, and we were before. I could not hold off Sebastian, Hamilton, and Perez because they were just too fast. But I think P7 is a great result. Yesterday, top 10 with Jenson in quali. Today, top 10 in the race as well. In a circuit like this one, I think was unthinkable a couple of months ago. So very good progress from the team, and yeah, happy.
This is it. It wasn't supposed to suit you guys at all. You started plumb last, well within the points and competitive. How much joy does that give you, being in the seat of the car, knowing that you are fighting again? You're there.
I'm obviously happy and optimistic for the future. The joy now is still not maximum because when you are fighting for P7, it's not the target you have. But I think the progress that the team has made in the last 6-7 months is just amazing. And if we keep this momentum for next year, that will be great news.
And so too the man of the moment, the man that everybody had high expectations of today, Max Verstappen. Squeezed at turn 1 by the 2 Ferrari drivers. Then didn't shower himself in glory. I'm going to say I don't think turn 1 was Max's fault. But didn't shower himself in glory for the rest of the race. Moved under braking and was slow in his fight at parts of the track where he should have been far faster with Kimi Räikkönen. Again, on the edge with his driving and his racing with Sebastian Vettel. Some negative comments coming out post-race from some of the drivers about Verstappen, about his racecraft. Is that because they see him as a threat, or are they genuinely concerned about his racecraft? It's difficult to tell right now. Anyway, let's hear from those Ferrari drivers about that first corner, but also about their take on Max Verstappen's driving. Here they are. Kimi, shades of China at the start, 2 Ferraris coming together with a Red Bull up the inside. Was it game over at that point?
Well, obviously we managed to recover something out of it, but there was decent damage in the car, and obviously we lost the lap, but luckily we got it back and tried to do the best that we could, but it wasn't easy after that.
And not for the first time this year, racing with Max Verstappen, you're not happy with the way he's racing. Does something need to happen? Does somebody need to talk to him? Do you need to talk to him?
Well, it doesn't. I mean, I think people have raised their opinions about it, and makes no difference. I'm all up for fair racing and close battles, but when I have to brake on after all rules before turn 5 from the full speed when he turns in front of me, that's not correct in my view. But obviously FIA is looking a different way, and Stewart. So I mean, unfortunately, there will be a big accident if this doesn't stop, and that's the rest. I don't, I'm fine with fighting, but it should be. We should not do stupid things.
Can you understand why it's not being investigated? You've been around the sport a long time. Not even a notice from the stewards that it was being investigated.
Well, it's the same story last time, so hard to know. I mean.
Seb, a frustrating day. Talk us through the first turn. Obviously, a Red Bull coming hard at the inside, your teammate next to you, and a race really after that was very difficult.
Yeah, I was ahead. I hardly saw Kimi. He's in the blind spot. I know he's there, so I give him enough room. Obviously, we're racing each other, and then nowhere in my mind across the thought that Max is trying to go even on the inside of Kimi, because there's just no space. I think if you completely forget about myself, Max is making contact with Kimi because he doesn't make the corner, and then obviously it's a chain reaction, and 3 cars on a tight corner like that, it doesn't work. With hindsight, it's easy. I give more room, and I make it, and the other 2 probably don't. So I'm the lucky one that gets away with it, but. How can I know that? I mean, the mirrors are small, and as I said, Kimi was in the blind spot, and Max I can't see at all. So obviously it's a shame. All three of us, and especially Kimi and myself, lost the race there. And okay, you can argue we're lucky to continue, but I think today we could have both been on the podium and smiling, and in the end we were not.
Your teammate very critical of Max Verstappen today, not for turn one, but for the way he defended during the race. How did you find Max in his wheel-to-wheel combat with you on track?
It's critical. I think we talked about the moving under braking, and you at top speed you reached 340 and he's moving. It works as long as the car behind just plays accordingly and lives with it. But the moment somebody sticks to his line, both cars crash, and that's obviously you can judge from behind. So that's not what you want to do. But eventually, if you drive like that, I think it will not end up too well. So obviously more than anything, it cost us quite a lot of time, him as well. So it didn't help both of us.
You're very vocal on these things. I know you work very hard on driver safety. You work with Charlie Whiting. Why are these incidents not being investigated by the race stewards? And I mean, not even investigated.
I don't like to investigate everything. I think we're men. We're not in the kindergarten. We are here to race each other. We can talk to each other. We respect each other. So if I have a problem with Max, I go and talk to him.
So he just needs a talking to. Just needs a clip around the ear.
Talk to him, but obviously after the race is not the best moment. But that's, I think, the way we should approach it. We should, you should leave it to us. Obviously, there's limits, and if we go beyond the limits, then we need to be talked to from the outside. But in general, I'm not a fan with, I don't know. As I said, we're not a kindergarten. We're not here to cry and he did this to me. Can you give him a penalty? I mean, we're here to race, as I said. So it's a shame because today we could have had a great race. We didn't have. It's a shame for the team. We could have had, as I said, both cars on the podium, but sometimes these things happen.
I like the way Vettel finished that off, and I have to say I do kind of agree with him. They are grown-ups, they're big boys, they can have it out with one another, and hopefully it won't need to go to the stewards. And I think, as Kimi said, so long as I know what I'm doing and what's legal, then fine. And the fact there were no penalties, no investigations by the stewards, great. We don't want to get into a situation, though, where anything goes, I don't think. We don't want to get into a situation where any type of racecraft is acceptable. It needs to be good racecraft. And I think, as Seb said, when calmer heads prevail, they will be able to go into a meeting room and have words. Anyway, here is Max Verstappen. What's his take on the whole race? What's his take on the slightly less than kind things the other drivers might have had to say about his racing? Max, after that squeeze at turn one at the start, they seem to go downhill from there. Talk us through what must be a very frustrating day.
Yeah, I mean, after, like you said, I got squeezed in turn one. First of all, Kimi wanted to turn in on me, and then in the end, Sebastian just turned in on both of us, and then, destroyed my front wing, but also the whole floor. So, I lost a lot of grip, more degradation on the tires, so that's definitely not what you want. But I tried my best, and even the fans were still great, even though I was not in the points, but unfortunately, it was not our day.
A lot of radio chatter today from other drivers not happy with your defensive style of driving out there, but you haven't been called to see the stewards. There were no investigations. Are you happy with the way that you're driving and defending?
Yeah, otherwise I should have got a penalty if it was not correct. So I think everything was also fair again today.
You did put a good move on Sebastian as well down the end, sort of saving blushes with that. How enjoyable was the race for you from the perspective that it probably wasn't going the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, well, not so much, of course, because I think we had a car, like you could see, to finish on the podium, but then if some other drivers take that away from you, you're of course not happy.
How high has the pressure been for you today from this massive crowd all here to see you? Is it something that spurred you on, or was there a weight on your shoulders?
No, because then I should have felt it yesterday already, but I think yesterday was fine, and today, everything got destroyed in turn one.
Now, it wasn't to be points today for the Haas F1 team, although the car had looked capable of drawing them in. And one guy desperately unfortunate in all of this, I think, was Esteban Gutierrez. When the safety car came out, Haas pitted their drivers, but they pitted them madly on the same lap. So they stacked them, despite the fact the safety car was out. You didn't need to do that, which lost Gutierrez time. He fought back, overtook his teammate. But if we think back to Australia and that cool decision to leave the drivers out under safety car because it was so obvious that a red flag was going to come out because of that massive crash for Fernando, and when you think about the damage up on the barriers in hindsight, and hindsight is always 2020, a red flag probably was quite possible to have come out. Anyway, gambled in Australia, it paid off. Didn't gamble today, didn't pay off. Gutierrez out of the points, but arguably should have been in the points. Here's the Mexican. Esteban, so close once again. Is it a frustrating day?
Well, I'm just giving my best. I think getting, let's say, a reasonable weekend out from something that was pretty tough. Starting 18th, we finished 12th. Yeah, we didn't finish in the top 10 like we wanted, but we pushed really hard. I did all I could with what I had, and yeah, pushing all the race, clean race, good overtakings. So I think we can take some positives and keep going forward with the same rhythm, because I am convinced by being consistent like this, it will arrive soon.
You drove a great race today, particularly because the team stacked you guys at the stops before the race was red flagged. Obviously, Karma heads back in Australia, kept you guys out, and ultimately gave you a result. You should have been a lot higher up today.
I should have been, yeah, because at the first lap we managed to overtake a lot of cars, and then yeah, I lost a lot of time when I had to pit after Roman because already on the safety car. I couldn't go quicker, so after one lap of safety car, having to pit again and losing all that time wasn't ideal. But yeah, we did our best. As you said, it was a good race, good drive. So we will keep going. I will keep pushing very hard and getting the maximum potential of what we have.
We will finish Paddock Pass today with an interview with Fred Vasseur. Kevin Magnussen's big accident obviously is the thing that caught the safety car out and then brought out the red flags. He got out of the car under his own steam and sort of hobbled off. And it was really amazing to see how well that car sort of maintained its integrity in what was a horribly violent, really quite intense, high-speed accident at one of the fastest points of any Grand Prix circuit. And so here is Kevin's boss, just with a little update after the race on how Kevin's doing and also his chances of whether he'll be back in the car for Monza in 1 week's time. Fred, a massive accident for Kevin. How is he?
He looks okay. The first constatation from the medical center that he had a small cut to the ankle. And they sent him to the hospital in Verviers just to have a global check, an X-ray to the ankle, and probably a scan, but he looks okay. The first feeling is quite good.
It may be too early to tell. Was there any sign of debris causing a puncture that might have set him off? Driver error, do you know?
To be honest, we don't know, because we didn't collect all the data from the car, and okay, it's much better to have a look before to speak, but on the TV we had the feeling that he had a huge wheel spin on the curb, and I don't know if it was due to something or I don't know.
Head restraint obviously flew off during the impact. Is that due, do you think, to the chassis twisting, or is that something you need to look at?
I think due to the impact, I think that everything is completely destroyed, and that will be difficult to have a good analysis on what's happened, but but he's okay. That was the most important, and I hope that he will have absolutely nothing and he will be ready for Monza.
So that's your lot from Paddock Pass for Belgium in 2016. Look, Dan, over there, you see that bridge miles away in the distance? You probably can, or maybe not. I don't know how good your zoom is. Yeah, a little bit. There we go. Well, look, the traffic is flowing freely, but it won't be for much longer. And I have a plane to catch, and there are about 100,000 crazy Dutch fans who'll be trying to make their way home. So I'm going to have to go. Hopefully we will make our plane. Luckily we're flying from Luxembourg, which is that way, and mostly everybody else is going back to Holland, which is that way. So fingers crossed, should all be all right. It's been a great weekend. Always lovely to be in Spa. Great to be back on the trail. Monza is next weekend. Can't wait to get to that theatre of speed, La Pista Magica, as it is called, the magic track. For now, though, from us here in Spa, we'll see you next time.